All right. Are you ready to dive into the Bonkers 20 years later fandom? Because, you guys have provided us with like a mountain of material, fan forums, episode recaps, even a live stream highlights. It's clear that the show has its claws in you.
Yeah.
And honestly, we get it. This deep dive is all about kind of synthesizing what's happening, especially with the big three, those wings everyone's talking about, and why this reboot is resonating so strongly with viewers.
And I think it's important to note right off the bat, this isn't just some kind of nostalgia grab.
Yep.
Bonkers 20 years later takes the original concept and really injects it with something different.
Oh, absolutely. It's like they took that classic cartoon chaos
Right.
and cranked it up to 11. I mean,
Right.
the season premieres alone, Toontown and Harmony. We've got classic tunes like Roger Rabbit popping up, the Phantom Blot like singing villain ballads from a bottle.
Precisely. And it's not just random cameos either. The show uses this over-the-top absurdity to establish something bigger, like a bigger, weirder world, one that's primed for these crossovers, which is a huge draw for these longtime fans.
And the crossover that has everyone talking. Enter the big three. We've got Bugsy Prime, the Keyblade-wielding leader, Maru, the effortlessly cool wind manipulator, and Harima, former class clown from School Rumble, now holding his own as a fighter. It's wild how they've managed to shift the focus from Bonkers himself to this trio of brothers and their, let's say, unique love lives.
And each brother offers something different, giving fans a lot to latch onto. You've got Bugsy with his two girlfriends, Kim Possible and Shigo, and that taps into that classic will they, won't they dynamic, but with a polyamorous twist. Then there's Maru. He embodies a different kind of energy entirely.
Maru and those wind powers. The fandom is obsessed. What do you think it is about him that's resonating so strongly?
It's fascinating, isn't it? He's very stalking anarchy from Panty and Stocking, which in itself is a chaotic pairing. But Maru himself is incredibly reserved, almost stoic, perhaps in a world of increasingly loud and demanding heroes. His quiet strength, his connection to the very air around him, it taps into a desire for something, a little more introspective.
And then there's Harima. Who would have thought that the class clown from School Rumble would grow up to be such a capable, even sensitive fighter?
And a devoted husband to Eerie, no less. It's a good reminder that people can change, that growth can come from the most unexpected places.
Okay, but we can't ignore the elephant in the room, or should I say, the wings on these guys, because those have sent the fandom into absolute overdrive.
The wings are fascinating. They're not just visually striking, but they're incredibly symbolic too. Freedom, power, a touch of danger, elements that resonate deeply within fandoms, especially when tied to attractive characters.
Especially when the show leans into it, with those flight streams, seeing Bugsy, Maru, even Harima's friend Yanki B soaring through the sky with those black wings spread. Pure fan service, but it absolutely works. What do you make of the fan theory surrounding the wings? There's that one about their size being tied to emotional intensity.
It's clever, whether it was intentional or not. Whether those theories hold weight, or if they're pure speculation, it's clear that the show, it encourages that level of engagement. It's blurring the lines between fan service and genuine character development.
Speaking of character development, Bonkers, 20 years later, doesn't shy away from romance. In fact, the big three's love lives are front and center. Bugsy juggling Kim Possible A&D Shigo. It's giving some viewers whiplash, but it's also sparked some really interesting conversations online.
And that's where this show gets really interesting. It's not just throwing these characters together for shock value. It's a surprisingly nuanced portrayal of polyamorous representation. Take that acoustic set in the episode Midnight Gravity. The way Bugsy sings, "The stars align, but I only see your face," directly to two different people. It's playful, it's teasing, but it also hints at the complexities of balancing multiple relationships.
The fandom absolutely erupted after that episode. You've included a ton of forum posts, dissecting every lyric, every glance. It seems like Bugsy's love life has sparked a lot of debate. What do you think it is about this particular dynamic that has people so invested?
Well, it's tapping into something. That's always fascinated fandom, that push and pull of relationships. But in this case, it goes beyond the usual love triangle tropes. We've got Bugsy, Kim, and Shiga. They each have their own established histories, both within and outside the context of Bonkers 20 years later.
Right. We've got the former villain, the iconic hero, and Bugsy, who's trying to forge his own path while navigating these two very different, very powerful women. It's a recipe for delicious drama.
Exactly. And the show isn't afraid to explore those complexities, the jealousy, the compromises, those moments of genuine affection. It acknowledges that polyamorous relationships, like any other
Yeah.
they require work, communication, a healthy dose of self-awareness.
And while Bugsy's trying to figure out the whole two girlfriends thing, his cousin Yanki B is over here like a force of nature. This guy is pure chaos, constantly spouting one-liners, picking fights with anyone who looks at him sideways, and yet there's something undeniably compelling about him.
He's a fascinating counterpoint to the big three's more traditional heroism. Yanki B represents something grittier, the street-level side of things, you know. He's impulsive, brash, and yet there's this sense of loyalty, this deep-seated protectiveness that shines through in his interactions with the others, particularly his girlfriend Gertrude.
Oh, absolutely. Their relationship is a whole other level of chaotic energy, the way they banter, their constant fight-flirting. It's like watching a romantic comedy, written by someone who only understands love, through the lens of explosions and sarcastic insults.
And yet, it works. Their dynamic highlights the show's theme of unconventional relationships. Love can be messy, explosive even, but as long as there's respect and understanding at its core, it can thrive even in the most unexpected forms.
And speaking of unexpected relationships, can we talk about Megalo? Who would have thought that the former mad scientist, hell-bent on world domination, would end up in a loving, stable relationship with Gadget from Rescue Rangers?
It's a testament to the show's ability to subvert expectations. Megalo, once a menacing villain, is now a source of both comedy and genuine warmth. His eccentricities are tempered by Gadget's ingenuity, creating a dynamic that is both quirky and endearing.
Their back and forth is comedy gold. Remember that line from their first date? My favorite experiment is still in progress. Classic Megalo. But it's not all suggestive humor and double entendres. There are moments of genuine sweetness between them, highlighting the idea that even those who have strayed from conventional paths can find redemption and perhaps even a little romance along the way.
Precisely. And that theme of redemption, it isn't limited to the reformed villains. Remember that episode where the big three reunite to fight the Phantom Blot, the musical number where they sing, "We are the big three and nobody's going to mess with us." It sends chills down your spine.
Oh, tell me about it. It's like a battle cry, not just of heroism, but of brotherhood. You can really feel the bond between these characters, the years of shared history, both good and bad. It speaks to that universal desire for connection, for finding your tribe, your people. And that connection extends beyond just the big three. Even the reformed villains, Megalo and Overlords, are welcomed into the fold.
Yes, it speaks to a broader theme of forgiveness, of second chances. The show seems to argue that family, whether by blood or by choice, is a powerful force. It's about finding acceptance and understanding, even amidst the chaos.
Speaking of chaos, we haven't even touched on Zan and Azula yet, Bugsy's twin brother, ruling their homeworld with Azula from Avatar by his side. Talk about a power couple. I mean, on the one hand, we've got Bugsy, Maru, and Harima causing mayhem across the multiverse. And then there's Zan, calm, collected, practically radiating authority. It's like the show is presenting us with two completely different leadership styles.
And it begs the question, which style is more effective in the long run? Bugsy's chaotic good versus Zan's more calculated approach? It's a question that has the fandom buzzing, especially given the glimpses we've seen of their homeworld.
Right. It's a stark contrast to the cartoonish antics of Toontown. Advanced technology, hints of political intrigue. It's like looking through a window into a world of higher stakes and hidden agendas.
A world that, I might add, seems to be governed by a very specific set of rules, a certain order that Zan embodies, which makes you wonder, what happened in their past to create such a stark difference between these twins? What events shaped Zan into the leader he is today?
It's like we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg. With Zan and Azula, they're this looming presence, this constant reminder that there's a much bigger game being played.
And that's what makes him so compelling. The show has masterfully woven these tantalizing threads into the narrative, leaving us to wonder if and when those threads will fully unravel.
And how those threads might connect to the larger mystery surrounding the Big Three's past. Because, let's be honest, with all this talk about wings, romance, and family reunions, we can't forget about the breadcrumbs the show keeps dropping, about what really happened during those multiversal adventures.
Those cryptic lines, those fleeting flashbacks, they're like puzzle pieces, scattered throughout the season. And the fandom is working tirelessly to put them together. Remember that scene where Bugsy mentions fighting under neon lights?
Or when Maru talks about winds from beyond the stars, each cryptic line just fuels more speculation.
And this brings us back to the heart of what makes Bonkers 20 years later such a fandom phenomenon. It's not just a show to be passively consumed, it's an invitation to actively participate in the storytelling process.
To become part of the world they've created, to engage with the characters, and yes, even to obsess over those wings.
Precisely. And it's that level of engagement, of co-creation that makes this show and its fandom so incredibly vibrant.
So, while on the surface, we might be talking about a cartoon reboot. With a penchant for wings and chaotic romances, we're actually looking at a much deeper phenomenon, one that speaks to the power of storytelling, fan engagement, and the enduring appeal of a well-crafted mystery.
Absolutely. And as we delve deeper into the source material you've provided, one thing becomes clear. Bonkers, 20 years later, isn't just a show. It's an experience.
An experience that's captured the hearts, minds, and let's be honest, libidos of viewers worldwide.
Indeed. And nowhere is that more evident than in the dedicated section of the Disney Afternoon forums you've brought to our attention, the Big Three Thirst section.
Oh boy, here we go. Fasten your seatbelts, everyone, because things are about to get interesting. Okay, so we've talked about the big three, their chaotic relationships, and those wings that have, well, everyone buzzing. But now, brace yourselves, because we're about to venture into the heart of the Bonkers 20 years later fandom frenzy, the Big Three Thirst section of the Disney Afternoon forums.
From what you've described, it sounds like a testament to the power of compelling characters.
Yeah.
And creative expression.
Oh, it's a wild ride, believe me. We're talking fan art, fan fiction, even like meticulously edited videos dedicated to, well, let's just say the fandom appreciates the show's commitment to attractive characters. And those wings are practically their own category of thirst.
It's interesting how a single visual element can become so loaded with meaning. We've talked about their symbolism, freedom, power, danger, and it seems like those themes resonate even more strongly within the context of, shall we say, admiration.
Absolutely. And the show knows how to play with that. Remember that flight stream where Yanki B told the audience they needed members-only access to get a closer look at those wings?
Yes, the comments section after that stream was
lively. Lively is an understatement. It was a stroke of genius, really. By leaning into the fandom's fascination, the show creates this sense of shared intimacy, of being in on the joke. It's fan service, yeah. But it's also a clever way to foster that sense of community. But it's not just about the thirst. Even in the Big Three Thirst section, there's a lot of genuine appreciation there for the characters' personalities, their relationships, and the deeper themes the show explores.
Which makes sense. Strong characters, even in a comedic, over-the-top setting, will resonate with viewers on a deeper level. They become more than just objects of admiration. They become relatable figures who inspire not just desire, but also empathy, excitement, even a desire to explore those characters further through creative means.
Exactly, and that exploration takes many forms. Fan art, fan fiction, even those hilarious memes that pop up after every episode.
Speaking of exploration, you mentioned some intriguing fan theories about the Big Three's past.
Oh, there are theories galore. Remember those cryptic lines about Bugsy fighting under neon lights and Maru encountering winds from beyond the stars? Fans have taken those snippets and woven together these elaborate backstories, complete with secret organizations, interdimensional travel, and of course, plenty of angst and romance.
It speaks to a desire to fill in the blanks, doesn't it? To create a more complete picture of these characters and the world they inhabit. And in doing so, the fandom becomes an active participant in the storytelling process.
Absolutely. It's a collaborative effort, with the show providing the framework and the fandom adding their own unique interpretations, their own layers of meaning. It's like a giant ongoing conversation, fueled by passion, creativity, and let's be honest, a healthy dose of obsession.
And humor. We can't forget about the humor. You've included some truly hilarious memes in this deep dive.
Oh, the memes. It's amazing how quickly the fandom can turn a throwaway line or a funny expression into viral content. It speaks to their engagement, their ability to find humor even in the most unexpected places.
And that humor, that shared laughter, it further strengthens the bonds within the fandom, creating this sense of belonging, of shared understanding. It's a reminder that even in a world that can often feel isolating, there are communities out there united by their passions and their willingness to embrace the absurd.
Beautifully put. And Bonkers, 20 years later, embraces the absurd in the best way possible. It's a show that doesn't take itself too seriously, which allows the viewers to do the same.
And within that absurdity, there's a surprising amount of heart.
Absolutely. The show might be full of chaotic energy, suggestive humor, and more winks and nudges than a Bugs Bunny cartoon. But at its core, it's about the power of connection, the bonds of family, the complexities of love, the enduring strength of friendship.
And those themes resonate, regardless of whether you're analyzing every wing feather for hidden meaning or simply enjoying the ride.
Exactly. Bonkers 20 years later is a show for everyone. Whether you're a diehard fan from the original series, a newcomer drawn in by the promise of chaotic adventures, or someone who just really, really appreciates those wings.
And speaking of appreciation, I believe we've only scratched the surface of this deep dive.
Oh, we've got plenty more to explore. From the bizarre world of Bonkers merchandise to the ongoing debate about Zan and Azula's true intentions. Trust me, this fandom is full of surprises, but I think we'll save those for another deep dive.
A wise choice. After all, part of the joy of fandom is the journey of discovery, the thrill of uncovering new layers of meaning, new avenues of creative expression.
Well said. So to our listeners out there, who dove headfirst into this mountain of bonkers content, we leave you with a challenge. Keep exploring. Dive deeper into the forums, analyze those wings, craft your own theories, and most importantly, have fun. Because in the world of bonkers 20 years later, there are no wrong answers, only endless possibilities.
And perhaps a touch of thirst along the way.
Always. This is the big three, after all.